of Bristol. Thank you so much for joining us from England here on France 24. If I could just pick up on a couple of the points there made by Angela Diffley. First of all, Donald Trump, who has hailed this operation, while at the same time calling the Iranians to return to the bargaining table before it's too late. Those are his words. Was the U.S. and Israel in lockstep, or did Benjamin Netanyahu force Trump's hand?
I think it's difficult to believe that Israel could launch this kind of operation without letting the U.S. know. And in fact, they did say that they informed the U.S. about this operation, but also consider that if the United States was entirely against this operation, they would have the means to prevent this operation to happen, this attack to happen, in fact. So I guess, there is a little bit of deliberate ambiguity from the U.S. administration in this sense, and is basically trying to pursue a two-pronged strategy. On one hand, there is a diplomatic channel with negotiations open with Iran that were supposed to take place on Sunday in Oman for the 6th time, and that reportedly were going in a relatively fruitful direction, apparently. And then on the other hand, there is Israel, of course, the closest ally of the United States, and from which the United States anyway does not want to depart, no matter the president, whether it's Biden or Trump and so on. But Israel's stance is not in favor of diplomatic negotiations, is instead much more oriented, as we witnessed in the past few hours, towards a military strategy against Iran. It looks like both processes have been going on at the same time. Israel has now launched this attack last night, as we know, and Trump sort of spoke to this attack, with praising its outcome so far, but also on the other hand, saying, look, you have to sit at the table and accept the conditions of the so-called deal, to use his own words, that is offering to Iran. Iran is unlikely to accept to sit at negotiations while it is bombed at the same time. That wouldn't be negotiation, that would be simply humiliation. Therefore, the outcome of this process is hard to foresee at this point. We will have to see how things unfold next. But for now, it looks like the military track has taken over and diplomacy so far is silent.
And analysts telling us earlier, Filippo, how overall Israelis are behind the operation, at least the concept of it. They've been worried about Iran getting the bomb for years. But again, as Angela was asking earlier, does this operation ultimately make Israel safer?
Well, this is the question. I mean, how does the use of force is going to lead the region to a better place where it is now? It's difficult to imagine for the time being. Israel has demonstrated that it can attack Iran, and it has done so in a way that is very, direct, of course, with direct attacks, but also operating from Iranian airspace, showing that Iran doesn't have a deterrence capacity any longer, notwithstanding the attacks that Iran has launched in the past months in retaliation to other attacks that Israel has made against Iran itself. And therefore showing that militarily it can act over Iranian territory, and it can hurt Iran significantly. The latest attack that we witnessed in the past few hours, which is probably going to continue as we hear from the Israeli leadership themselves, shows that it's a holistic attack. It both targets the military top-ranking officers of the Iranian army, as we saw, but it also attacks the infrastructure. We know, however, that Israel military capacity probably is insufficient to completely disable the Iranian nuclear program. It probably can retard it, it can make it slower, it can roll it back, let's say, and disincentive its role. But also, on the other hand, an increasingly insecure Iran is an Iran that will more likely pursue its nuclear military capacity to a faster pace than before. So again, it's what more broadly is known as a security dilemma. The extent to which an actor feels threatened usually is commensurate to the extent to which it will militarily build up its capacity against its potential enemy. And that might be the kind of spiral that we need to witness at this point.
Israel's Prime Minister in his statement in English there saying that this operation will go on as many days as it takes. Filippo Dineonigi, we're calling it an operation, but can we just say it? Is Israel right now at war with Iran, an open war?
You're perfectly right. It's open war. There's no question about this. This is a war that started on October 7, 2023. That's been going on for 18 months. And what we see now is a major shift in the nature of this war. So far, we saw Israel fighting against Hezbollah in Lebanon, obviously the horrific operation in Gaza, for which Israel is even accused of crimes against humanity, crimes of war, and genocide, the operations against the Houthis in Yemen, and we saw also occasional operations against Iran on Iranian territory. But this level is a completely new level. This is interstate symmetric warfare at this point, which brings the conflict to a completely new level, and one that, again, is very hard to foresee what kind of outcome we will have for the region in terms of stability. We saw that the price of oil has increased, predictably so. We don't see a short-term ending for this conflict, in fact, and all the options are on the table. So insecurity and uncertainty are at top level at this point in the region, and I should say also globally.
Symmetric warfare, in other words, classic warfare, what we're witnessing, state versus state. We had seen the fighting against Hamas. We'd seen the exploding pagers for Hezbollah, and both of those are non-state actors. They're militias. Is there an element of hubris on the part of Israel this time tackling what is perhaps a more ambitious plan?
Well, the last time historically we saw symmetric warfare and interstate war in the region, we know it didn't end well. We are talking about the so-called, endless wars that basically get out of control. On the other hand, we should say Iran has hardly been, revolutionary Iran has hardly been in such a weak position as it is now, which is also probably why Israel has decided to intervene in this point, to attack at this point Iran. Let us roll back our view of the region to before October 7, 2023. At that point, Iran was a regional hegemon that had control over Syria, had strong influence in Beirut, a significant influence in Baghdad and Iraq. It still does, and it also had a very significant influence on Yemen and Sana'a. Right. This picture has radically changed at this point. Syria is gone, is now in the hands of a completely different regime. Lebanon, Hezbollah has been degraded. A few hours ago, they declared that they sympathize with Iran, but they haven't made any bellicose statement that makes us think that they may, in fact, intervene currently in this conflict. They really can't afford to do that. The Houthis haven't made any declaration yet. Baghdad remains somewhat ambivalent on the stance, right? Meaning that Iran is in a difficult situation. The previous attacks that it carried out against Israel in the past months did reach Israel, did make an impact on the ground. They destroyed some infrastructure, but mostly these were performative attacks that showed capacity, but never really managed to deter Israel in its military stance. And we have the demonstration of this also in the past few hours. Israel has continued to operate and continues to operate against Iran militarily. with, as you say, possibly hubris again, with the possibility that they might be overstating or overrating their own military capacity. We can't really tell what's in the minds of the Iranian leadership at this point. They certainly have taken a hit in the past hours, but we'll still have to see exactly what they will be able to do in retaliation to this attack.
Filippo Dioggi, we're showing the map of places where airspace is currently closed. There's one country which matters in all this. You've just described how the region has changed so much, where we have had a reaction in the last couple of hours, and that is Turkey. The President Recep Tayyip Erdogan calling this banditry on the part of Israel, saying that it's seeking to drag the world into disaster. At the end of the day, will Turkey sit this one out?
Well, Turkey seems to have a stake in this conflict only as far as it happens near to its borders. And it's true, Iran is certainly a bordering country for Turkey, but reality is that they have been fairly opportunistic so far. They have put their money on Syria, for example. They've been very active on that front. They have made boastful declarations against Israel and its attacks against Gaza, of course. But the reality is that then their material intervention in the conflict is limited to the extent to which that reflects their most immediate interest. They sort of step away from being involved in other major situations. So my sense is that so far, again, they will see how things unfold, but as long as they are not directly involved in the repercussions of this attack against Iran, they may sort of maintain a vociferously critical stance, but one that remains only rhetorical and not necessarily active on the military side of things.
Filippo Dioggi, many thanks for joining us from Bristol in England.
Pleasure.
Angelo Diffley, before we go, just to remind